see fire inside the mountain. I see fire burning the trees. I see fire hauling souls. See fire blood in the breeze. I hope they'll remember me.
I don't have a quippy line this time.
That's okay. Fix your microphone.
Yeah. Last time I came in, I booted it, so I had to, put it out of the way this time.
Now I see fire.
Start
I can
talking.
do it.
I don't know if I can.
How many years?
A lot.
I don't even have your headphones on.
Well, I was off screen, bro.
Yeah, then it took forever to do that.
It'll all be edited out of the audio.
Yeah, not for you guys. You
Sorry, guys.
See a lot of struggle.
Or a lot of success. Struggle usually leads to success, Cameron. Did you know that?
Only if you learn from the struggle.
I don't think I learned anything.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Next week's going to be the same damn thing.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe not.
Do my levels look okay on the H4? I sound a little quiet in my headphones.
Yeah.
Might be my headphones are turned down. They're turned on. Okay.
Your right's a little. I would not bad at all.
Okay.
Okay. Episode 40.
40. Isn't there a Rockies player that's number 40? Mm-mm.
I don't know. I'll just leave it out this time.
I think Brian Wilson used to be 40, but I don't remember. He might have been 00 actually.
I don't know.
World's best boss.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee and Contemplation. Yeah, let's start that up.
Yeah, I was like mid-sip. yeah, I'm ready though.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee and Contemplation. This is episode 40. I am Cameron, and with me,
Hey. Bro, I'm ready. I don't know why you're holding up the line, dude. I'm ready to go. Don't you have a dinner to go to?
I'm gonna have to be with my client at 5:30.
With your wife?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee and Contemplation. This is episode 40. I am Cameron, and with me, as always, Brent Schaefer.
Hello. 40. There's a lot of athletes with number 40.
Yeah.
But we can't think of any off the top of our heads.
Yeah. Probably like a fullback.
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah. A couple soccer players.
Soccer.
I wonder if there's an NBA player. 40 seems kind of...
That does seem... Probably a lot of baseball players were 40.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah. But episode 40. We're coming up on a year.
I know. 12 more weeks. So
yep.
About a little over 3 months.
About 3 months. So
Yeah.
we're really not coming up on it, but...
But 12 compared to 3 months...
That's true.
Feels a lot.
That's true.
Less, that's why.
That's true. Plus, I feel like the last couple of weeks, like the last 6 or 7 weeks, just in general, have been going by so fast.
Yeah. And this will be the first episode that we post on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. New recording schedule.
New recording schedule.
Thanks to the MCU.
Yeah, so we're trying to get people more excited for the upcoming episode of WandaVision and all their shows coming up, because it seems like each MCU show and Disney Plus show will be coming out on Fridays, every Friday. So if we post on a Wednesday, then it's about 2 days before the next episode.
Yeah, it just makes a lot more sense than posting on Fridays
When
the new episode has already come out. And if people are listening to this podcast about MCU shows, I'm sure they've already watched it at that point.
Exactly.
So like, come on, guys, keep up. We're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Brent doesn't work, so it's all my fault.
Yeah, I do nothing all day. I just sit in a big blanket
So yeah, he's always
of warmth.
ready for whenever I'm ready, basically.
Yeah. All I do is school.
Yeah. So
Yep. All right, Cam, are you ready to get into it?
I am ready.
Let's get into it.
How was your birthday?
It was great. It was a really good time. I hung out with you on my actual birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and then Saturday night hung out with a different crew. Had a lot of fun, and it was a good time.
Nice.
Good birthday. So video people, what's new with you guys? How's life? How's quarantine? Did you get your shot yet? Or not? Are you elderly? Because if you're elderly, you probably got it. If you're not elderly, you probably didn't get it yet. Unless you're a teacher. Teachers got it. Frontline healthcare workers got it. Is that it? Elderly, frontline healthcare, and teachers? That's basically it so far.
What a bitch.
Dude, okay, so you're Mr. Fan Theories, right? You like to do the Googling, you like to do the YouTubing. You like to do the searching for the fan theories. Did anybody guess that it was Agnes?
Oh, that was one of the biggest theories.
Really?
Out there.
Okay, because I remember there was talks about it maybe being her husband.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name already. Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's just Agnes.
It could still be Ralph too. It could
Yeah.
be both of them.
I don't know. It could be both of them, but Agnes got her own theme song.
Yeah. Well, and also Agatha Harkness was a teacher to the Scarlet Witch in the comics,
Oh, really?
not a villain.
Oh,
So that's why people still are holding on that it's Mephisto as Ralph, and she's in control or being controlled by Mephisto.
Mephisto's still such a cool name.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sweet name.
Because in the comics, Wanda and Vision have twins, but they were souls from Mephisto. Remember how Mephisto like takes souls and everything, and is a part and basically immortal because he has a limitless amount of souls, and then if he gets those souls taken away, he loses a certain lifespan. And so when Wanda conjured up those twins for Vision and herself, she asked Agatha how that was possible. She said that it was from Mephisto's soul, and Mephisto found out and came and took them back, and Agatha tore her memory out of the kids to help her from that heartbreak. So it's interesting because in the comic she's like kind of a villain but also wants to help Wanda, but in the show WandaVision it seems like she is the villain.
Yep.
Especially since it's like naughty Agatha and I killed Sparky too.
And the evil witch laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And she dressed up as a witch for Halloween, which I think was kind of like a foreshadow.
Yeah, in that 80s episode, her outfit was supposed to be Agatha Harkness. What her outfit is in the comics, basically.
Oh, gotcha.
Like the light purple, yellow pants, and stuff like that. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I loved. Remember we were talking last week about what the style was going to be if there was going to be a sitcom. I love that it was totally just like Modern Family.
Modern Family
is what it was.
And The Office was the theme song, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very like late 2000s, early 2010s. Which, by the way, I just started watching Modern Family because it's on Hulu. It's so good, dude. I don't want to say like binging it because I have been actually super busy, but I've been watching it when I have free time, and it's so good. I mean, so many people have told me throughout the years that it's hilarious, and I love. Yep, you're one of them. And I love comedies, obviously. So a lot of people have been like, "Dude, you have to watch Modern Family. It's fantastic." So if you have Hulu and you haven't seen Modern Family, definitely check it out.
Yeah, they just finished their last season a year ago.
Oh wow! Oh really? It ended that recently?
Yeah. So the day WandaVision came out, episode 7 of WandaVision came out, was the last. I guess not when the last episode came out, but it was the cast's last day of filming. It was a year past that.
The anniversary.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool, like a little callback to Modern Family, and a lot of the actors and actresses who I follow on like Twitter and Instagram were all like. It was cool to see how much our show impacted to be in a different show.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. Yeah, it was funny. There was a lot of funny moments happened when they were doing the one-on-one interviews.
Yeah, which is kind of also The Office does that too, but I think it was more like Modern Family style where it's like in the houses and...
The first one is Wanda and the husband together. Or, sorry, Wanda and... I don't know why I said the husband. Wanda and Vision's together, like on the... No, it wasn't.
It was just Wanda.
It was just Wanda, right. because Vision's that's his own, and he's outside
with,
of the truck.
Darcy,
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know why, but I laughed so hard when he's like, I'm not amused. Because they keep stopping the progress.
Yeah, because he just goes, I can't help but think Wanda is doing everything in her power to make me not come home. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm not amused. And
when he said it, it was so funny.
And then the stoplight finally turns green, and then all the kids start crossing. Yep. And then it was like a Jim kind of look to the camera.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, and then there was like the construction workers came out of nowhere. Yeah, it was awesome. It was hilarious. Yeah. And it was funny too, because when that was happening, my whole thought was like, wasn't he just fly to the house? Mm-hmm. And he eventually does.
Yeah, because then it cuts to him again. He's like, "What am I doing?
Yeah,
I need to get there."
Well, he literally like we have mics. We can do it. He's like, "Why am I talking to you guys?" He like takes the mic off. Yeah.
And then he goes back. It cuts back to him in like the truck with Darcy, and he just floats away. And Darcy just goes, "So I'll just meet you there then." I've never really watched the first two Thor movies, but you, I guess, played a pretty important role in the first two Thor movies.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool to see more of her character, and she's hilarious.
Yeah, she's hilarious. I used to watch, not like a lot, but I've seen episodes of that show too, Broke Girls, and she was one of the Broke Girls, and she was funny on that show too. So I figured eventually she would be funnier in the show, and I'm glad we're kind of getting to see some of that comedic talent come out, because this is also the first time, like, in the very beginning, you see her, like, under the mind spell. And I was like, oh, it'd be interesting if she was under the spell the whole time. But pretty early on in the episode, Vision comes in and fixes her. Mm-hmm. She's like, hello, me.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was also cool to see all the aspects of the carnival. Dead air for you video watchers.
They just get to look at your beautiful face and your beautiful straight. What do you got? Stranger Things?
I got Stranger Things.
Beautiful.
Coffee and Contemplation.
My shirt has a dinosaur and says never forget.
I guess kind of Jurassic Park, but not
sure.
Really.
Jurassic Park. More just dumb punchline, which is basically my entire existence. Yeah.
Brody was telling me a joke you told him the other day.
You're gonna need to be more specific.
Yeah, I was trying to remember.
Right.
It was your stepladder joke.
Oh, it's so good, dude. You want me to tell it? Well, at the work where Cam still works, where I used to work, we had a little stepladder, and I used to carry it around, and I would tell people that this is my stepladder, because I never knew my real ladder. All right, that was episode 40. Well, Cam, I want to tell you something interesting. So the ending. We'll talk more about WandaVision. We're not done yet, but it is interesting. So the credits in The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, which is our next topic, are not as long as the credits in WandaVision. Nice. Isn't that kind of ridiculous?
Kind of.
A 2 hour and 45-minute movie compared to a 35-minute show. It was just kind of interesting.
But there was an end credit scene.
Yeah. Yes, there was. Yeah, mid credits. Yep. Why don't you tell us about that, Cam? What happened?
Okay, so Monica Rambeau is the hero Photon, if you did not know that. That is her new superhero name.
Oh, okay.
Because she gets her powers going through the force field.
It doesn't say that in the show, though, right?
No.
You know that's just the fans knowing that? Okay.
And...
Photon, that's cool. Mm-hmm. I'm in an astronomy class right now, so we're learning all about photons. That's dope, dude.
Yeah, so she gets...
Is her main nemesis going to be Electron? That's a good joke. That's a solid joke.
It is, but it's also protons and electrons.
Well, photons hit electrons and they destroy each other. Mm. That's why it said enemy. Mm. You want to know about gamma rays? I was just doing homework before you showed up. That's why. Oh! Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
But yeah, so Monica goes to Agnes's house. Well, no, it's Agatha Harkness. Mm-hmm. But she goes to her house and finds a little storm cellar, and she opens it up and sees like the purple trail leading down the basement. She's just confused by it, and then Pietro comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And says, "Snooper's gonna snoop."
Snooper's gonna snoop. I was wondering who he was the entire episode, because he was not in this episode, not once.
Well, yeah, and it was also interesting too because the whole intro to this week's episode was the Modern Family kind of style, with the calendar and everything.
Yeah.
And the handwriting or the font and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the intro song or intro credits were just Wanda. Just said
starring Wanda Maximoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end it said WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Which I think might have been intentional because even within the episode, Wanda was in the episode a lot more than Vision was.
Mm-hmm. And also, you kind of saw how her powers are kind of not failing her, but she was struggling with her powers in this episode.
Everything was like changing and she had no idea why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that could have been why the opening credits were just Wanda, because she couldn't show the other.
It's kind of starting to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool to see Pietro come in, and it seems like they're gonna team up together, Monica and him, to either save.
Oh, really? That's
Wanda.
not what I thought. I thought the opposite.
What?
I thought that Pietro is going to be an enemy now.
No.
That's kind of what I thought. Because, like, so Wanda doesn't know. She said this in the last episode. She doesn't know why Pietro came back. I feel like Agnes did it to throw Wanda off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like, oh my god, what's her name? Photon?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Photon and Pietro. Wow, that was a bad
one. It's also
one.
Quicksilver.
That was a big one. Yeah, Quicksilver. I feel like it's gonna be Agnes and Pietro against Wanda and Photon.
I don't think so.
Because the way he said Snooper's gonna snoop didn't sound like he was like, oh, we're gonna be buddies now. It sounded like she's in trouble.
I think he's been snooping too. That's why he says Snooper's gonna snoop.
Oh.
And so he found out about Agnes.
I think he knew about Agnes the whole time. This is why it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the next episode. I think the show part is over. Like, I think it's gonna be just.
That's what we said last week.
I know we did say it last week, and we weren't sure though. We were like, oh, maybe. Now it seems a little more official, but we'll see. But now that Wanda really isn't in control of anything anymore, I think the sitcom part is going to be totally over. But I hope not, because I like that aspect of the show.
It could be still a sitcom, but it couldn't be WandaVision sitcom. It could be
Agnes's sitcom. Agatha. That's going to be hard to switch over to, but
either way works.
Right.
Same thing with
I could see that.
Grogu and Baby Yoda.
Yeah. And I said Grogu. Dude, I just struggle with the names, you know. Grogu forever. But I feel like he's a bad guy. I don't think he's gonna help Photon.
I think he is.
But that's the fun. But we'll see.
Also, how disappointing was that astrophysicist part?
It was pretty. It was pretty. I honestly forgot.
Also could not be the astrophysicist. I think it's just a person working for the astrophysicist. I don't think we met the astrophysicist.
Yeah, I think there's still a couple more reveals to come because there was 3 episodes left now?
There's 2 episodes left, and then there's one more, but it's the making of, so it's the documentary of WandaVision.
And the last 2 actual episodes, those ones are going to be the hour-long ones.
Supposedly.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you sent me a Snapchat, because I didn't get to watch it until... Friday night. So you texted me Friday morning, and you were like, yeah, liar, because it was 38 minutes or whatever, and I was like, oh, I thought the last 3 episodes, but that must have been including the making of documentary.
Yeah, so... that's what people were saying on Twitter. They were like, somebody tweeted who started the rumor that the last 3 episodes were going to be an hour long, and people were replying. They said 8, 9, and 10, and then somebody said, but there's only 9 episodes, and
because this was 7, right?
Yeah. So and people were like, no, 10's going to be the making of WandaVision.
Okay.
So
interesting. Are you going to watch that?
I might. I watched the making of The Mandalorian, but it's called something different.
Sure.
For that.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
Okay.
It had all the producers talk about everything. Then it showed some behind the scenes footage, which is really cool to see. So probably be interesting to watch.
Is it worth an episode or probably not?
Maybe. I think we can maybe start with that one and then transition to what we expect from Falcon Winter Soldier. Okay.
Yeah. I'd be down to watch it if you wanted to talk about it on the episode. Yeah, okay, so what else do you have to say about Wanda? I didn't have too much to say just because it was a lot of setup. This episode was a lot of setup for next week's episode.
I will say it's probably one of the weaker ones, other than 1 and 2.
Sure.
Because it just kept progressively getting better with 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 7, I wouldn't say was a letdown, but I think a lot of people had more expectations for it.
Yeah, I think this episode was basic. I don't want to say filler, but I think it was just entertaining until the big reveal. And now episodes 8 and 9, since they're the last 2, it sounds like are going to be the big payoff episodes. Is what it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like Disney Plus did so well with Mandalorian, was those filler episodes and then ending season 1 and season 2 with 2 insane episodes.
Sure.
So
also the big news is the guy who plays the Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal, is going to play Joel in the Last of Us TV show, which is awesome. I think that's a good pick.
The girl that plays...
Yeah, I don't remember her name, sadly.
Miranda or something?
Yeah, from Game of Thrones.
Is going to play
gets
Ellie.
Murked in that show. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Girl.
Do you know what? I was thinking about that the other day. That's probably like the 6th season or 7th season.
It's the 8th season.
It's the 8th season, the final season? Yeah.
It's the long night episode.
Oh, yeah. Dude, she's such a badass character leading up to that. So I could totally see her playing Ellie. Like, I feel like that's awesome. Because Ellie's a character that has a lot of attitude. And she, like, definitely can carry that role.
Yeah. A lot of people were upset that it wasn't Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, or even the guy, I've seen pictures of the guy who plays the brother in Game of Thrones.
No.
I'm like terrible with names today for some reason.
A Stark or a Lannister?
The Lannister brother, the one in the relationship with the queen. Jamie, yeah. So there was pictures of him and like with the beard and everything. Like he totally could be Joel.
Yeah, that's what I think is cool about Joel's character. Is like it's kind of like a universal look, basically.
Yeah, and some people were mad that the girl from Game of Thrones doesn't look like Ellie. But they don't need to look like the characters. It's a whole different... It's based on the first game. It's the story of the first game. Yeah. But it's its own thing. They don't need to look exactly like the characters looked in the game. Yeah. That's not what it's about. But I'm excited I think they're both going to do a great job. I can't wait for that show, dude. I can't wait. But yeah, so WandaVision, I'm excited to see what happens next week. Because I think we're going to start figuring a lot of stuff out.
Still waiting on that big cameo that Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda. It could have just been Pietro the whole time. I think there's gonna be at least one more big cameo. Yeah. I feel like they're saving something big for the last 2 episodes, just like Mandalorian did with Luke Skywalker, because that was the very last episode, and it was like the last 10 minutes of the show. God, that was awesome, bro. Disney Plus killing it. Yeah. Disney Plus killing it, man. Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else you wanted to say about WandaVision? No.
Yeah, I feel like the segment's gonna be a little longer next week because we're gonna have a little more to unpack. This episode has a lot of questions left to be answered. Yeah, which is exciting.
I didn't see a lot of fan theories this week.
Me neither.
Now that I think about it, the only one is that big like truck or machine that Monica tries to drive in.
Oh yeah.
Was created by Reed Richards, and he's the astrophysicist.
Yeah, who is Jonathan Krasinski.
Yeah, it could
supposedly.
Be. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's like the only theory that I really saw, is that he created it and he works for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see all the big payoffs going to start happening next week.
Did I say sword or S.H.I.E.L.D.?
You said S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, now that I think about it. You might have said sword, but we all know what you meant. Yeah. They were both Pokemon games, so I guess that doesn't matter. But we just need the original Red and Blue remake, please. Nintendo? Do it. Did you see Mario Golf is coming back?
Yeah.
For Switch? Pretty cool. I used to love Mario Golf. That'll probably be the game that gets me to play my Switch again. 1, 2, Switch.
Okay, so another week, another Middle Earth segment.
Possibly the last good one.
Yes.
But we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the second installment to the Hobbit trilogy, The Desolation of Smaug.
Yes, sir.
What were some aspects that you thought were funny? Because I know it gets a little bit more serious, but there were still some funny aspects.
There were still some funny parts. I really liked that, I don't remember her name, but the female elf character. Tariel, the way she just talks shit to that dwarf. I thought it was awesome. The one that's in the... No, not Tariel. Yeah, Tariel. The one when she's basically making fun of the fact that he doesn't have a penis. when he's in the cage.
That's the one that she falls in love with.
Mm-hmm. But when they first meet, she like talks mad shit to him, and he like can't help but smirk. Oh, I love it. You don't remember what I'm talking about, do you? So he's in the cage, and he says something about, he's like, oh, don't you think, because he already obviously has a crush on her. He's like, don't you think I should be searched? Maybe I have something in my pants. And then she like looks at him, she's like, yeah, or maybe nothing at all. That's right. And she like walks away and he's smirking. That was, I love that. Might have been my favorite line of the movie. Okay. That was awesome. I love shit talking like that. What about you, man?
I like the scene where like Bilbo leads them all to the empty barrels and puts them in the river, and then he starts walking away, or like looking for a barrel of himself. And he like was doing the math in his head, and I just thought that was funny too, because he helped everybody out, and then he starts looking like, oh, about myself. And
then when they all fall through the floor, the way he like looks around is hilarious. Bilbo had a couple really funny parts in this movie. It's funnier later on in the movie. I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but I thought it was hilarious when he's looking for the Arkenstone in the throne room, or whatever you would call it, in the treasure room, and Smaug starts to wake up. He sits and he's like nervous, but he's like trying to figure out what to do. I thought the way that was acted was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, Martin Freeman's a great Bilbo. Like,
100%. Yeah, definitely.
He's like the perfect balance of like still a skittish, shyer hobbit, like not an adventurous hobbit, but still wants to prove himself as that adventurous hobbit.
Exactly. Yeah, but yeah, he's like just the way he sits was amazing.
And I like the whole banter too between him and Smaug too.
Yeah.
He's like,
it seems longer than I remember it being too.
He's like, Smaug, you irresistible one.
Yeah, he's literally just throwing compliments his way. All the stories and all the songs fall well short. Yeah. Yeah.
And he in Smaug too, he's like, you're very well mannered.
Yeah, you're very well mannered. Yeah. You know what I forgot about, Cam? And I have a question if this happened in the Lord of the Rings movies, but I don't think it does. In the beginning of the movie, or somewhere in the beginning, when they're fighting the spiders, remember the big spider fight? Bilbo puts on the ring, and then all of a sudden he can understand what the spiders are saying. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that was one of the powers of the ring. Did they talk about that in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, so in the Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo puts on the ring to hide from the ring wraiths, he can understand what the ring wraiths are saying.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't realize that meant like kind of all creatures.
But like, a lot of people can understand the ring wraiths too, because
just
they talk in English. But I think when they're doing like that screeching thing,
which is horrifying.
Yeah, I think that's what he can understand. Mm-hmm. But yeah, also watching Lord of the Rings, each time Bilbo puts on the ring, I'm like, Sauron's gonna see you.
Yeah, 100%.
He's not really has that power yet.
Yeah, he's not there. You can see it getting developed in this movie, which I forgot about too. Yeah. And but speaking of that, with him being able to understand the spiders, I thought that was really cool, because then when he does talk to Smaug for the first time, he puts the ring on to hide, and then Smaug starts talking to him. So I was like, oh, the only reason he can understand him is because he has the ring on. But then he takes it off, and Smaug's still talking, and you can see Bilbo like has that moment of realization of like, oh, he can actually just talk. And I thought that was super cool. I never picked up on that the first time I watched the movies.
That whole scene with Smaug and the dwarves too, like battling and trying to get Smaug to like basically die, was really cool too. With like I'd say, I forget what they call it, but it's kind of like the engine room, like where they make the gold and stuff.
Yeah, the smelting room or something like that. Yeah.
It's cool to see how they did it in the kingdom.
Right.
And you saw like,
because that's where the movie, like the first movie starts, you see them in there, and I love it's such a. We didn't talk about it last week. It's such a small little throwaway scene, but when it's talking about when the dwarves were like in their heyday and they were making all the weapons, the guy he's holding something and he holds it up in the air, and the two massive hammers come down, and like I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And that's the room that they go to with Smaug.
And it's cool too with like Bilbo getting the water away, or started to throw Smaug down.
Yep.
And then he gets covered in all the gold.
I forgot about that scene.
And then he flies out and he does that like big spin.
Yeah.
And it just
falls off of him. Yeah.
Really cool scene.
I'll show you revenge.
Yeah. The visual effects are really good.
Really good. Really good. Okay, so I want to talk to you about that real quick, because I remember being upset seeing the trilogy the first time because the CGI is a little heavy compared to the first movies, but I figured out why. And I do want to say it looks better than I remember it looking, for sure. Not sure about the third movie yet, because I know everybody's a little iffy on the third movie, but we'll talk about that next week. But I thought all the special effects in this movie looked awesome. Okay, so I didn't know this, but originally this trilogy was supposed to be directed by Guillermo del Toro. Did not know that. He's directed a lot of other movies. He's a super famous director, right? I'm just explaining it to the fans because a lot of them aren't as nerdy as we are. So if you didn't know, Shape of Water. Best movie ever, Shape of Water. But he came down with an illness and had to step away from the trilogy. Okay? He still executive produced the trilogy, but they didn't know who they wanted to direct it, so they reached out to Peter Jackson, not knowing if he would or wouldn't, and Peter Jackson was like, yes, I'll do it. But they already had the movies figured out, how they wanted to film them. Like, Guillermo del Toro did a lot of the work before Peter Jackson came in. So Peter Jackson came in and said, I don't want to do all the CGI, I want to do practical effects like we did with the Lord of the Rings movies. And the production company basically said, no, we already have this whole budget for the CGI. So if you go on the website, on the internet, you can see even like the main white orc, the guy with the one arm. You can see, yes, thank you. You can see what he was supposed to look like. You can see what Smaug. You can see what everything was supposed to look like if Peter Jackson was able to direct this from the start, for better or for worse. So because Guillermo del Toro is a much bigger CGI fan than Peter Jackson is. So that's, remember last week you were talking about how it doesn't seem like the trilogy came out the way that Peter Jackson wanted it to. That might be the reason, because he didn't do it start to finish. He kind of came in midway and teamed up with Guillermo with the vision he already had.
I see.
But like I said, the CGI definitely looks better than I remember it being, because I was very hard on all three of these movies the first time I saw them.
Yeah. Legolas didn't look as bad as I remembered.
No, and even like his action sequences, I remember that being the part that I was like, the part with the barrels specifically, when he comes in and saves them. I remember being like, this looks terrible. When I saw it in theaters, it looks great, dude. Mm-hmm. It looks really good. Yeah. I think it was just because you could tell it's CGI instead of practical effects. Yeah. But it still looks amazing.
Yeah. That's another funny scene too, when he's like killing all the orcs and everything, chasing the hobbits, the dwarves.
Yeah.
And he's standing on their heads.
Oh yeah,
and the dwarves are just like,
oh yeah, yeah.
And then he gets off, and then he like was on one bank of the river, and then he like leapfrogs on each one of their heads to get to the other side.
Yeah.
That was funny.
It was really cool. Dude, he also had a really cool fight scene by himself at the end of the movie when he's fighting...
I don't remember that one's name.
Okay, but he comes...
There's like two lead orcs. There's Azog, and then there's the one that we saw more in this.
Do you watch the movie with the subtitles?
Yes.
Okay, so I feel like that makes it easier, because I do not watch it with the subtitles, so it's hard to remember everybody's name. But Legolas is super badass in this movie. It was awesome. You also see the whole thing with Gandalf. I forgot he was separated from the dwarves the entire movie. In this one, I totally forgot about that. I had a question to ask you. So, Gandalf's basically going to get rid of the Necromancer. That's basically his role in this movie. And then, when he goes there, then it turns into the Eye of Sauron, and then the Necromancer walks out of it. Was that actually the Eye of Sauron, or was it supposed to be like a trick, like a practical effect trick?
The Eye of Sauron is the Necromancer. The Necromancer is Sauron.
Okay, that's what I was... I didn't know if that was actually the case, or if it was just trying to trick you, like, oh, it's Sauron, and then it's just the Necromancer. No. So that is Sauron, just in his form before he's the tower. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you see, like, a person walk out, and then the red flames, and then the black ball of energy, basically.
Yeah, it looks like the eye, and then it kind of dissipates.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like... It's him before he found a place to find a stable condition, basically.
Yeah.
So he was still building his armies, building his strength to become the eye, basically.
Right. Yeah. And you can kind of see that too. It's Gandalf gets surprised because he sees when it was such a cool line when the White Dwarf he says we are Legion, and Gandalf looks down and sees all the orcs and everything. He's like, oh, I could he's building the army. That's basically when he figures it out, that Sauron is not gone. He's building this army and coming back to power. And dude, it was crazy too when because he's Gandalf's such a badass dude. But when he goes to deflect the attack that Sauron's throwing at him and it just melts his staff, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think that's what Peter Jackson was trying to do too with this movie, is to show how powerful Sauron really was before.
Yeah.
I guess not like before, but like...
Well, even before Lord of the Rings, though, yeah.
That's how powerful he was before he even found a place to hold himself to be in a stable state to get Saruman's army involved, because Saruman is still on the good side, basically. Still,
I think he's got a foot in both camps.
Yeah.
I think he's the kind of guy who.
I think maybe we'll see more of him in Battle of the Five Armies. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
And because I only remember that.
No, me neither.
Once, so
but he feels like the kind of guy who's got a foot in both camps, because he doesn't know who's going to win yet. And then that way, whoever does start winning, he's like, "Oh, I was on your team the whole time.
Yeah,
I was on your team the whole time."
So I think he'll help out the good side in this side and Battle of the Five Armies. Which I don't know who the Five Armies are yet. But
I have no idea.
I would assume maybe like the elves, the dwarves, men, orcs and
hobbits.
One hobbit.
Just 35 hobbits come out of the woodworks.
No, and then maybe the wizards. So maybe like Saruman, Radagast.
That'd be cool. Yeah, Saruman maybe on their side. Yeah, that'd be cool. Do you remember? We'll get into it next week. But do you remember if Smeagol Gollum comes back for the third one?
I don't think he's.
I thought he was in this one, but obviously he's not.
I don't think we see him again.
I missed him. I don't miss him I miss him as a character. I don't miss him being a little bitch, but I miss him. He's a good character.
Yeah, he is a great character. Also, the Arkenstone is definitely a parallel to the Ring.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Because it's not really a hidden one either, because Smaug is talking to Bilbo about how he wants to see Thorin lose his mind over the Arkenstone. It corrupt its mind, and then Bilbo
which is already
reaches into his pocket.
Yep. Kind of. Oh yeah. Yeah, you can kind of start to see Bilbo getting not obsessed with the ring, but it's already starting to take over him a little bit.
Yeah, because he loses it in that fight with the spiders, and then that deformed one. I don't even know what kind of creature that was. It didn't look like the spiders. It looked like a weird lobster kind of crab. Yeah,
the one that comes out of the ground.
Yeah. And then he like almost steps on it, and that's when Bilbo loses it.
Yeah.
And then Bilbo finds it, and he says, "Mine," to the one he just killed, and then he sits down and he
just stares at it.
For a second and like cools down, and then he realizes what he did, and he like gasps and gulps and puts his hand over it while still staring at it.
Yeah, especially after his interaction with Smeagol in the first movie. I remember too. So that scene, you can kind of be like, oh, like he's starting to feel the corruption of the ring. But also when he decided not to tell Gandalf about it, when he decided to keep it hidden, that's when I was like, oh, it's already kind of.
That's also kind of a cool scene too, though.
Yeah, it is.
Because he's like, I found something in the Goblin Cave. He's like, what did you find? What did you find?
Yeah.
My courage. Oh, good.
You're gonna need it. And then he gulps. Yeah. That ended up being a really cool scene. But I thought he was gonna tell about the ring.
I did too. Yeah. Especially because it seemed like in Fellowship of the Ring, Gandalf knew Bilbo had it the whole time. So maybe he finds
third movie.
He finds that in the third movie.
I think so. Well, I don't know. I'm asking.
Oh, he might.
Because he definitely does know in the third movie. He basically tells him to give it to Frodo.
You mean in the first movie?
In the first, did I say the third movie?
Yeah.
It does a lot
that's
of
what. That's what I was like. Do you know? Because
no,
you were
sorry.
talking about the third. I thought you were talking about Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah. No, sorry.
He finds out.
Yeah, I haven't seen Battle of the Five Armies since I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I saw it 6 years ago. It came out in 2014. So.
Yeah, almost 7 years ago. That's crazy. So I remembered liking the first and second movie a lot, and then being disappointed by the third movie. Do you think this time around we'll be a little more understanding of the third movie, or do you expect that we're not going to like it that much?
I think I might enjoy it a little bit more too, because I saw it at my house with a lot of distractions going on because it was just on TV.
Oh, that's right. You didn't see this one
in theaters.
That's right.
I just saw it. It was on like TNT, I think.
There was no gas leak.
No
for this
gas
one.
leak.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Each commercial break.
Okay. Just a little bit at a time. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a marathon, not a sprint.
I saw it on TNT, and my family was home, so there were a lot of distractions. So maybe without those distractions this time, I might enjoy it a little bit more. But since you saw it in theaters, I don't know if it'll be different for you.
Right, but also we talked about this a little bit last week, but I think I just had really high expectations because the first two were so good. The ending of this movie, by the way, of Desolation of Smaug, sets up the third movie. Like, it leaves you on the edge of your seat. It's so good. So maybe the expectations were too high. So going in with more moderate expectations, I'll like it more. And also knowing the thing about, okay, this isn't Lord of the Rings. This isn't Peter Jackson's vision. He worked with what he had kind of thing. I wonder if that'll give me a different perspective, and maybe we will end up liking it a lot. I hope I like it.
Yeah.
Because the first two have been awesome so far.
Yeah. Also, that character, the other orc that fights Legolas at the end, his name is Bjorn.
Bjorn. Okay, that's a sweet name.
Yeah.
Bjorn. Yeah.
Also, Alfred, do you remember him at all? Like the right-hand man to the king in the Lake Town?
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of the snake.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I hated that guy.
That was in Two Towers.
Yep, in Two Towers. Yeah. Oh, what a little dude.
And then call him a snake.
Dude, and he's such a little. Because like the guy's like, are you really gonna let the people go hungry? He's like, that's not my problem. It is your problem. You're the right hand man of the king. What are you talking about? But he totally outsmarted him with the.
And he's like, how do you think the people will feel when they find out that the king is dumping fish back into the lake when people are starving?
Yep, and he's like, when they start rioting, is it gonna be your problem then? Yeah, and it's like, oh, don't dump the fish. It's one of those. It reminds me of those people that just have like a little bit of power, and it goes right to their head.
Another funny scene came to my mind. You know the guy that has like that little hearing thing. He like holds that little like metal tube.
Oh
to his ear and everything.
Yeah.
They're running to that house of that like man bear, the skin changers, what it's called.
Yeah.
And they like push their way through, and then they finally get in, and then it cuts to him, and it's just smushed, and he's like still putting it up to his ear. And he's like, I can't hear anything.
Yeah. Pretty good. Okay, I was gonna ask you a question. So, if you had the choice, Cameron Nylander, between being, I'm gonna give you a couple options, and you gotta pick one. You live in this world, right?
Earth.
You live in Middle Earth. Let's say it's peaceful time, so no war is on. Okay. You have the choice to be a dwarf, an elf, a human, a hobbit. There's one more. A wizard. Is that everybody? Are there more
this
races?
one include orcs.
Okay, or an orc. Although I don't think you're gonna pick that one. Which one would you want to be in times of peace? Hobbit for sure.
Even if there aren't times of peace, if you're a hobbit living in the Shire, you're living a
your
blissful
whole life
life.
is peace. Yeah, absolutely. I always thought it'd be so interesting in it.
Unless Gandalf comes to take you away.
Yeah,
basically.
I merely pushed you out the door. Yeah, I always thought it would be an interesting aspect of Lord of the Rings to have the Shire be attacked, and be set on. Like it would be devastating to see.
Yeah, I think the closest it came to the war part was when the Wraiths came to look for dragons.
100%. That was one thing I really liked about Game of Thrones, though, is nobody is safe in Game of Thrones, and no territory is safe in Game of Thrones, and that's why I think it would be an interesting aspect of Lord of the Rings, but obviously it's a good thing they didn't, because the Shire is just so peaceful all the time. But it would just be an interesting aspect.
Yeah. And that's also why I think it's a really cool reason why Bilbo decided to help the dwarves in the first place, because he's like, I miss my home, I miss my life back there.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I want to help you guys, because you guys don't have that.
Right.
And he wants to have them have that lifestyle.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. That was everything I had written down for this movie.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ending for a little bit.
Okay.
So I brought it up a little bit earlier, and you said his line, I am death, and I am revenge.
He's like, I'll show you revenge, and then as he's flying, he says, I am fire, I am death.
That's
right.
And that's when the movie ends. I thought you saw him die in his everything that he does in the
beginning of the third one, I think.
Yeah, I think it's in the beginning of the third one, especially since that's how it ends.
Right.
But I thought that all happened in the second movie.
Same. I remember the scene, so it's got to be in the third one. But I remember when he does start burning everything. I thought that's how.
I also remember Bard. We didn't talk about Bard.
Oh, Bard is an awesome character.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that kills him.
Really?
With that black arrow, because his son goes and hides it before he gets captured. So I think he's the one that does it, but maybe Gandalf escapes from Dol Guldur.
I think you might be right, because that'd be a great ending of his character, or like a great character arc, if it is him that comes back and does it for the legacy purpose.
Yeah, because his dad was the one that failed to do it the first time.
Yeah, and everybody remembers him as a failure for that reason.
Yeah. Even though the scale is gone, which was another cool scene when Bill was like, "So it is true."
Yeah.
The arrow did hit its mark. It's like, well, what did you say? Which is Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, shout out Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange. Yeah. This might have been my introduction to Benedict Cumberbatch.
I think it might have been mine too.
Because I don't know what he would have been in super popular before this.
Maybe Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, but I didn't start watching that until even a couple years ago, maybe like 2-3 years ago is when I started watching that show.
Yeah, I think that was one of my first things too that was introduced to me, because then I remember Doctor Strange came out and I was like, oh, that's the guy that played Smaug.
Yeah.
And I was really excited to watch that.
Yeah, I knew him because right before Doctor Strange came out, he was in this movie called The Imitation Game, which it's a movie about World War II, and I love World War II, and he killed it in that movie. He was so good.
Is he in Doctor Who also?
Doctor Who? Doctor Who?
You don't know Doctor Who?
Doctor Who?
You don't know that show? I've never seen a single episode, but everybody knows
Doctor Who. Yeah, it wasn't registering for some reason with the teleportation and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in that show.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so.
Just because he was Doctor Strange.
He does remind me of the guy who plays the guy before this guy does kind of remind me of Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays the Doctor. I don't know why. Like I was like, Doctor Who? What are you talking about? Yeah.
I've never seen a single episode.
I haven't seen it either. I've seen one episode. My math teacher made me watch one in high school because they were like, you just have to. It's just such a cool episode, and it was an episode about these creatures called the Weeping Angels, and it was insanely cool. That's the only episode I've ever seen of that show.
He played Stephen Hawking in the movie Hawking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I never saw that one. I saw The Theory of Everything with Eddie Redmayne. That one was really good. He plays Stephen Hawking throughout his life.
Yeah, and he's the main character in Crimes of Grindelwald. I can't remember what the...
Oh, in the Fantastic Beasts movies?
Beasts.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's the main guy, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Eddie Redmayne's a great actor. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. I think that was my first one from him.
These movies?
Yeah. I looked it up. He's not in Doctor Who, so I don't know. I probably was thinking of the guy that is now.
I remember like the main, everybody's like favorite Doctor that was in it forever does remind me of Benedict Cumberbatch a lot. Yeah. And it is funny too because in Sherlock it's Martin Freeman and Benedict Cumberbatch are the two main characters, Sherlock and Holmes, or Sherlock Watson.
I was like,
Sherlock and Holmes. What? yeah, it's Sherlock and Watson.
Yeah,
and that's a great show. If you've never seen it, that's an awesome show.
And Robert Downey Jr. also plays Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, great movies.
Who plays Watson in that one?
Oh, what's his name? Oh man, I can see his face.
Me too. I'm gonna look it up.
Wait, don't tell me. It's the guy who he plays the bad guy in that quarantine movie, Contagion. Julia not Julia. Oh my god, why can't I not think of it? It's gonna bother me.
He's in Captain Marvel, if that helps.
Never saw it.
He plays...
Is like Julia part of his last name? Julia?
No.
Am I close?
You're combining both his first name and last name very close. Like, his name as a whole is so close to Julia.
I can't think of it. It's going to bother me. Go ahead and tell me.
Let me name some movies that he's in.
I know who... Jude Law.
There you go.
Jude Law. Yeah,
That's
I don't know why.
I was like, Julia,
like
kind
close.
of close.
Yeah, Jude Law. It took me a second. I was like, you can. I know who. Like, I can see his face.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember the name. I'm so much. I found this out very recently, actually. But I'm so much better at remembering faces than names.
Yeah.
Because people will be like, "Oh, have you met so and so?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." And then I see him again, and I'm like, "Oh, I've totally met this person like 3 times. What's up?" Blah blah. You know, much better with faces than names.
Yeah. Also, it's crazy. The MCU has like a Sherlock and a Watson from both things, because Martin Freeman...
I see what you're saying, but
so
from
like
different
Benedict
things.
Cumberbatch plays Sherlock in the show Sherlock,
sure.
and Watson is played by Martin Freeman.
And Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. and then Jude Law, and Jude Law is a character in Captain Marvel. Robert Downey Jr. is the face of the MCU, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
Then Doctor Strange, and then Martin Freeman's in Black Panther, if you remember his character at all. He's the one that like pilots
Really?
that.
Oh
that
yeah, he
plane.
totally is. Yeah.
And he's
And doesn't it crash? He like crashes it by accident.
not by accident.
Oh,
he means
attacked?
to.
Oh,
Yeah.
He means to.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Black Panther in a long time.
He also,
That
it's
is
a funny
funny,
scene
isn't it?
too when he goes with Shuri and
That's the sister.
yeah,
Yeah.
and his mom to like the gorilla kingdom, and he starts talking and they start growling and like barking at him.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, I kind of remember that scene, but yeah, that's funny. I totally forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah.
A lot of crossover.
A lot of crossover.
Yeah.
Basically the movie universe in a whole.
Yeah,
is just
definitely. Yeah,
insane.
just Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
Watch it.
It's crazy.
I know that it's time, and you're standing. La da 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 da. Yeah. I'm gonna play that. That's gonna be my first song I play today.
But yeah, so next week we will talk about Battle of Five Armies.
Mm-hmm. I'm really interested to see what we think about
I
it.
also am as well.
It's a sentence that works.
But yeah, I also am interested in why it's like the five armies and who all the five armies are.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely see it being like the Orc army, the Dwarf army, maybe even like the Lake Town army, because it's like
that would
the
make
men.
sense. Doesn't the town get like totally destroyed by fire?
So.
Like it's like just like messed up, huh?
Yeah, I think it gets destroyed, and then Thorin is so drawn to the power of the gold. And all the people in Lake Town go to Erebor, is that kingdom's name, to seek shelter, and he says no, he wants all the gold to himself, and I think that shows the greed and the power that a lot of dwarves want.
Yeah, and just people.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I don't think we talked about it on the episode. I think it was before the episode. We were talking about how they already allude to the fact that he's already kind of getting corrupted.
Yeah, because you see him ask Bilbo, "Did you find the Arkenstone?"
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that he definitely did. Like, he definitely has it.
And even before that, when Bilbo's missing, and he's like, "I will not sacrifice this mission for one burglar." And the guy's like, "Bilbo." His name is Bilbo.
Balder, I think is his name. Balder. That's the old guy's name.
Okay.
Balder.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, his name is Bilbo. And yeah, you also see it earlier too when he tells Keely or Feely?
You would know better than I would.
I think
with
it's
the
Keely
subtitles.
that is the one that got shot in the leg and can't really walk.
I think you're right.
And
The love connection one.
Mm-hmm. And he says, no, you have to stay behind. And then Bomber also overslept.
Yeah.
And
did you guys miss? You guys missed the boat too?
Yeah.
That was a funny line.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it wasn't because the guy like almost dies. He passes out.
Yeah.
Is it the same kind of? He says Nightshade. I think the orc. Is it the same thing that Frodo got stabbed with?
Yes.
The same poison.
I think so.
I forgot what it was called, but it's the same kind of thing.
I think it's not really a poison. Actually, I think it's like can be used to combat other poisons. But I don't know.
I just remember the orc is like it's. You said it's
Not
13.
orc.
There's only 12 of them. Is it an orc?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
But
Because he's like, I stabbed one of them,
but
and
I
there's
think-
poison
I thought-
coursing through his veins as we talk.
The dwarf says Nightshade when he's going through all the weeds that
Probably.
that he
Yeah,
has.
I was talking about when they're like interrogating the orc that they find, the two elves.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's going to be 12 soon because I stabbed one of them with. He might just say the word poison.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when he's talking about those people, he's like, I'm not going to risk this quest on one dwarf. He doesn't say family. I guess he kind of does. He says, no matter if it's my own kin.
Yeah, he does say his own kin.
So,
yeah.
Still doesn't call him by his name, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the guy's like, I want to be there. Yes. Yeah, he's like, I want to be there when we find it.
I guess Thorin is their uncle.
I think you're right.
He says, Uncle, we grew up hearing your stories about Erebor and reclaiming our homeland. Do not take that away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says this thing. I don't want to risk my quest on one dwarf. Yeah. Even if it's my own kin.
One thing I did miss, now that we're talking, why do they have to get there? I forgot what they call it, but they have to get there before the dawn of something.
It's like, no, it's the last light of something.
Right. But Why is it that they have to get there by that time?
Because it'll reveal the keyhole.
That's right. And then they leave, and Bilbo's there when it happens.
Because they believe that it's the sunlight, but it's the light of the moon.
Right. Okay.
And the moon shows it.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. I just couldn't remember why they had to, but then that makes sense.
Yep.
And then I was gonna say one kind of little plot hole is that they're trying to retake their homeland after however many years it's been since they got kicked out, and they make it all this way. They go through all this stuff, and then they get there. It's like kind of hard to get into the door, and they all just leave. And I was like, they gave up pretty quick.
That was their last chance.
That's true. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
But then Bilbo was the only one that was like, let's just see what happens. Yeah.
Well, and he's also smarter than
that's true. Dwarves. I guess that's true. Dwarves aren't the smartest race.
He kept saying like the riddle over and over again.
Yeah,
and you saw that from the first movie that he's really good with riddles.
That's very true. Yeah, because he reads a lot of books. So I guess that makes sense.
And he writes a book.
Yes, he does.
Called The Hobbit.
That we're watching. We're currently watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll see even more of the corruption that the Arkenstone gives Thorin, because I think they're really trying to create that parallel of the Arkenstone.
Yeah.
And
to the ring.
Which I mean is cool and all, but also it's just a stone.
I think it's just.
It also could show the reason why Frodo was so well to do the carry the ring and follow out destroying it, because it already shows that man is easily corrupted by the power, shows
of the dark side.
And shows how
I think it's also
what other races easily.
Well, we're seeing dwarves are getting corrupted by treasure.
That's treasure. I think that could be another reason why Peter Jackson wanted that parallel so much, is to show why it was Frodo that got tasked with it.
I think
not like an elf.
I was gonna say, I think the way they talk about it in the first movie is like basically every race is easily corrupted by the ring, no matter who it is. But hobbits are just so pure that they're the hardest race to corrupt, although they do get corrupted over time.
Yeah.
Like we saw with Gollum, and a little bit with Bilbo.
I think he really wanted to show why dwarves are bad for it, because you saw men,
the men even made it to Mount Doom, and then decided not to cast it in.
Frodo did too.
That's true.
Low key.
That's true.
If it wasn't for Smeagol, we'd have a fourth movie.
I don't know. I think Sam might have figured that situation out.
I don't know.
Because Sam's like, no, Frodo. Who knows?
He gets knocked out for a second.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot Frodo definitely hesitated. Not even hesitated. Frodo basically decided not to.
He put it on.
Yeah, he's like, it's mine, or whatever he says.
He says, it's mine, and then he puts it on. And then the eye turns to the
That's
mountain.
Right. Yep.
What are the big dragons called? Do you remember?
No. The ones that the ring wraiths ride? Mm-hmm. I don't remember.
They all start heading there.
Yep. Yeah.
Crazy ending to that movie. That's why I think a lot of people had such high standards for Battle of Five Armies too, because Return of the King was such a perfect ending to that trilogy. And
I think I'm really trying to level my expectations for Five Armies.
So I think Five Armies probably it's in this world. They're amazing movies. I think it'll still be a good movie, but I think it probably might leave a lot of open-ended things. Might twist people's main reasons why a lot of people hated season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Expectations are so high, dude.
Really high, and also they had 7 seasons leading up to these certain personalities, and they just basically said, oh, everything that happened in the last 7 seasons doesn't matter anymore. And that might...
Well, it's not that it doesn't matter. Come on!
Jamie's character arc was going, woo, and then...
That's the hard. When you build such great characters, it's hard to end them properly.
Yeah.
Especially when you have so many great characters, it's hard to be like end them all so well. Yeah. That's why Lost dropped the ball. Game of Thrones dropped the ball. Although I don't think it's quite as bad as everybody thinks it does. But maybe we've had this conversation before. Maybe it's because I've heard it was so terrible that my expectations were so low that I was like, oh, it was all right. Like it was all right.
I mean, the Long Night episode is awesome.
Oh, it's so good.
There's
a couple episodes in the 8th season that are sick. It's just the last two that are kind of like,
two that
oh, that's it.
Because, yeah.
Who do you think, besides Lord of the Rings, is there a certain story that sticks out in your mind of like, they couldn't have ended this any better? Whether it's a movie or a show. Yeah, oh yeah, Breaking Bad. And then I think a lot of people are mad that they did the El Camino movie. I think the El Camino movie was, now that I've seen El Camino, you haven't seen it yet. Now that I've seen El Camino, I can't imagine Breaking Bad ending without El Camino. I thought it made the ending even better, which is so hard because it came out like 8 years later or whatever.
I've seen that argument too, that it's like Breaking Bad was perfect. Why'd you have to add on something?
Sure. But I think honestly it made it even better. I've also seen
people like respond to that and say like, that even made it better.
I think I'm on that side.
Yeah. So
Jesse was also always my favorite character. So getting his own story is awesome. Yeah. And you didn't get any closure with his character, which was kind of the point of the ending of the show. But in the movie, you get a lot of closure with this, and I love the way they ended it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's roll it back onto some Desolation of Smaug and then end the episode.
Yeah.
Did you have any more notes?
No, that was everything I had. I guess I just have a question. So, these movies aren't as good as the Lord of the Rings movies, which is fine. Lord of the Rings they're all like pretty perfect. But
people call it the Holy Trinity.
I could see that. But these first two movies are a lot closer to the quality of Lord of the Rings than I remember them being.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed watching the first two so far.
Yeah. I loved the whole chase scene in the barrels.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was awesome. When they're throwing the axes and everything that they take. And then when...
Yeah, the way they're passing the weapons was sweet.
What's the big guy's name? I don't remember either. But he rolls onto the bank.
He takes so many of them out.
He just pops his arms out, and then you see his two little eyes just peeping through. And he's just just spinning, killing all of them.
Yeah, so he rolls like down the hill and takes out like 20 of them, and then he lands and he like pops his feet out and his arms out. That was so cool. With the two like axes. Yeah, that was so badass. I thought that was awesome.
And then he's done killing them, and he just runs back and jumps in an empty barrel.
Yeah.
I think it's a very intense scene that whole time, and kind of the comic relief is Bilbo just hanging on the side the whole time, freaking out. You can't get in a barrel because there weren't enough for him. And which I guess is kind of a plot hole too. If there weren't enough barrels for Bilbo to be in, and the big guy destroys one, how does he jump in an empty one?
I bet you it explains it. I bet you have to watch that
scene
again.
Like,
if it doesn't, then that is a plot hole. But I bet you a lot of stuff happens really quick. I bet you something else happens that we didn't see.
Maybe one falls out and does the same thing Bilbo has to do, and there's just an empty one floating down or something. I don't know. Yeah,
that was a great scene. That was a really cool scene. Yeah. And once again, it was obviously CGI, but it looks much better than I remembered it looking. Yeah.
Looks like some scenes were filmed on a GoPro too, which is really cool because. I mean, I don't know if it was, but it looks like
GoPro style at least.
Yeah, because like GoPros are waterproof and you can stick it onto anything and it doesn't really do any damage to it. Yeah. It looked like some of the shots when they would zoom in on a barrel and then it cut to just the water. I think that might have been that style.
Sure.
Which is a really big movie technique. A lot of people do that with just the camera to show a person perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, that was everything I had, Cam. Cool. Is that everything you had?
Yep.
Alright, video listeners. This is where we leave you. We're heading into Music Mondays because it's actually Monday. So if you want to hear that, go ahead and tune into the episode. Same title and everything as it is on YouTube. A little better sound quality though. You know what I mean? And we just can't play the songs on YouTube because they get taken down. As we figured out last week, we got our first copyright strike, so we got to be careful to not get another one. So we love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.
On Coffee and Contemplation.
I've been Brent.
I've been Cam.
And we'll catch you guys. See you later, guys.